How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid, which was up 7% on the day. It also hit some key levels we've been talking about since the beginning of the week. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in a bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $19.30, being up 7.04%. On the low, it tested $17.99, and then on the high, testing $19.65. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 24.101 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 18.284 million shares. So you can see we had above average volume, and it's part of the reasons why we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 54.40. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day and we are above the 21-day EMA and as well as the 50-day. If you guys remember what I said in my previous video, we wanted to see Lucid making a move to the $19 area, and it did exactly that. So it saw a high at $19.65 before seeing some resistance. So going into tomorrow, if we could break above $19.65, you know what I'm about to say. I want to see us test that psychological area right at 20 bucks. If we can get past $20, then the next area where we'll start seeing some resistance will be right here around $20.50. So you want to keep an eye on that. And where do we want Lucid to get to? We want to see it get to around $22.50, okay? Now, if we decide to have a pullback, then I'm looking for us to actually have support right on the 50-day, which is around $18.52. If we could actually finish the week above this level, Lucid looks really good going into next week, so you want to remember that. But we also have the 21-day EMA, which is at 18.07. So essentially, we just want $18 in regard to support to hold if we end up having a strong red day or the market decides to pull back. But for the most part, we are continuing to have higher lows and as well as higher highs, and that's exactly what we want to see from the stock because technically it is looking really strong. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. So scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings, we don't have any new or closed positions, but we do have some changes. So the first one we see is Bank of New York Mellon. They ended up actually having a value change of negative 30.20%. And then we have QRAF, which is AI Enhanced US Large Cap ETF, that reduced their position by 60%. And we have Fidelity that ended up having a value change, looking like they increased that position by 2,984%. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 51.16%. And then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 2.6 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 75,000, updated 10 minutes ago. And then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 15.28%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 21st, it was at 35.11. And then for the close of the 22nd, being at 51.16. So that is a significant increase right there. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 22.55%, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Lucid. So we see on the inflow, it's at 85.20 million, and then on the outflow, it's at 72.64 million. So we had an inflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 18.86 million. On the medium, it was 39.16 million, and then on the small, it was 27. 3.18 million. On the outflow side, you can see on the large it was 6.79 million, and then on the medium it was 32.81 million, and then for the small it was 33.04 million. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for today, June the 23rd, we had that big inflow of 12.06 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tend to represent the retail side, you can see that we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then for the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had a lot more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 1.45%. So this is a consistent range for Lucid. And one of the things you have to keep in mind, they are being included into the Russell. We talked about this since last week, and it seems like the big money is loading up on shares, and that's why we're seeing some appreciation in the stock. Now let's move on to the final thoughts, and we'll go over some more details. So for my final thoughts for Lucid when it comes to the price action, I must say that we had a great day in the market. We were able to close not only above the 21-day EMA, but we also did close above the 50-day moving average. We ended up seeing a high at $19.65, and we know that $20 is a psychological error for this play. As far as for the low, we tested at $17.99. So going into tomorrow, I want us to make sure that we form another higher low. If you take a look at the chart, you can see that it's been forming higher lows and as well as higher highs for the past 4 trading days. So what it's looking like, institutions are accumulating in regards to the Russell. But the main question right now, will this momentum continue into Friday? Will we be able to get to $20? Well, you know what? I'm going to be looking forward to it, because once we get to $20, the next level you want to keep an eye on is around $20.50, and also that area right at $22.50. If it decides to consolidate or we have a pullback, as long as we could hold support at $18, I would not be mad whatsoever, and it does set the play up very well going into next week. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership, we do see some activity that is going on. There were no new or closed positions. Instead, we just saw institutions that were actually cutting back on their positions because the value changes were negative. And then when we took a look at the short interest information, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential, and the shorts are even more vested inside of this play due to the fact that it has been experiencing quite the run up. We can't forget we are still in a bear market. We're still in a high inflationary environment, so we know there's going to be a lot of uncertainty and there's going to be a lot of fear. But if you are inside of this play as a trader, as long as you're moving up your stops and protecting your profits, you should be perfectly fine. But if you are an investor, you want to continue to be patient and wait on the sidelines, because like I've said in my previous videos, I think at the current levels I would not be paying for this stock. That is just my personal opinion. You might have a different strategy for yourself, but of course you want to make sure you're doing this on top of your homework and as well as your due diligence. This is very key before you start investing in any play. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.